or commercial gain.
I call the Honourable Joe Goodhue.
Mr Speaker, it gives me much pleasure to rise and take a call in this debate as we debate the West Coast Windblown Timber Conservation Lands Bill. I want to begin by spending just a moment on the purpose, which I know we'll debate a little later, but just to remind members why we're here. The purpose of this Act is to allow the Director-General to authorise the removal from certain conservation areas and reserves in the West Coast region of timber irreversibly damaged by Cyclone Eta. Windblown timber is what it's known as. And I rise to take this call as the Associate Minister of Primary Industries with responsibility for forestry and a very real interest in this area. I'd like to pay tribute right now to my colleague, the Honourable Dr Nick Smith. And I do so because, and I think my colleagues would join with me and agree in saying there is no greener member of our blue party than the Honourable Nick Smith. And therefore this is a member who gets biodiversity, who gets the importance of the environment, who understands that there cannot be any economy without environment, that they go together hand in glove, and that is in fact why he has championed these causes within the National Party for so long. However, I want to say that it is this party that sees beyond blind ideology, that sees that we must have a thoughtful response to an unusual event, which was Cyclone Eta. Now, I visited the West Coast, and I was there on the 3rd of May, and I visited to look at the wind-thrown timber that largely was in the Crown Forestry Estate. But I also got to see a lot of the native timbers that were down on the ground, and I was struck by the patches of devastation, and I was struck by how long it was going to take for the recovery to occur. Now, what the Honourable Nick Smith saw in this was an opportunity for it not to be as much devastation, for in fact a principled, thoughtful, measured response to this particular event. An event that I have to say, we take our hat off also to the candidate for West Coast Tasman, Maureen Pugh, because right there on the coast she has been besieged by people who have a view about something should be done about this. Now, the people of the West Coast absolutely get that fallen timbers are required for the biodiversity, that you actually need to let things rot. But this was on such a large scale compared to anything that had been seen before. So what this bill is it's a pragmatic approach. Let's face it, there does need to be some urgent action when we talk about the beech timbers. The other timbers over the course of the period that this bill will exist for will not be at such a pressure to actually be logged or extracted. But this was an extreme event. This is the sort of event that requires a pragmatic approach, keeping in mind the principles that any revenue from this event, from actually logging this timber, should rightly go back to the Department of Conservation. That in fact safety, because as a previous member has already said, safety will be paramount. This is the most dangerous logging experience anyone working in forestry will undertake. They have to be specially certificated to carry out this sort of recovery, and the coasters know that as well. It will be jobs for coasters. It will be jobs that the Honourable Damien O'Connor should be thinking very carefully about. And this is an opportunity that should be very carefully managed. I commend the Minister and this bill for what I believe is a pragmatic way forward to achieve that.
I call Richard Prosser.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to rise on behalf of New Zealand